Hello. This is the second year of our committee. Our goal is to provide online instructors, with creative and innovative methods to enhance student learning, utilizing 5 approaches. The first approach is the constructivist approach. Now, that approach is based on the concept of constructivism. This is the belief that learners create their own understanding of the world, and this understanding is based on experience through everyday lives as they grow. The next approach is the collaborative approach. This approach puts a big emphasis on collaborative learning, which we do online all the time. It's the idea that learners work together to gain a greater understanding of the information they've been presented with. The third approach is the reflective approach. And the reflective approach focuses primarily on analyzing what the teacher and learners are doing in the classroom. It encourages thinking about teaching practices and figuring out ways to improve them in an attempt to make the learning process more effective for the students. Now, the integrative approach differs from other teaching approaches in the sense that it tries to provide learners with an environment where they can make connections between the current topic that they're learning about and other topics that they'll come across at different stages of the curriculum. And then finally, there's the inquiry-based approach. This approach requires more than just giving the correct answer to questions but it encourages more thoughtful and engaged participation from learners. What we know is that engagement and learning by creating and distributing an educational document is very, very important in terms of the inquiry-based approach. Metacognition goes hand in hand with the integrative approach. Metacognition is actually thinking about thinking. It gives students the ability to accurately judge how deeply they have learned something. What I know is that at GCU we use CATS. And if formulated properly, CATS can increase metacognition through the utilization of self-reflection. And self-reflection is an experience which is replayed or re-evaluated in terms of new information. Actually, it relates to what you know, what you need to to know and what you are learning, integrating that information to actually create a sense of deep learning, a sense of something they would probably not forget tomorrow and will be able to use in the future. In keeping with the integrative approach, it is important for us to understand Bloom's taxonomy. Now, Bloom's taxonomy is a set of 3 hierarchical models used to classify educational learning objectives into levels of complexity and specificity. The 3 lists cover the learning objectives in cognitive, affective, and sensory domains, namely thinking skills, emotional responses, and physical skills. Bloom's taxonomy, of course, is a framework that helps students understand and approach learning in a structured way with 6 steps. Remembering, which is retrieving information, recognizing, which is recalling information, relevant knowledge from long-term memory, understanding, and constructing, which means constructing meanings from oral, written, and graphic messages through interpreting, exemplifying, classifying, summarizing, and inferring, comparing, and explaining. And then applying, of course, is carrying out or using a procedure through executing or implementing. Analyzing is breaking material into constituent parts, determining how the parts relate to one another, and to an overall structure. Evaluation, of course, is making judgments based on criteria and standards through checking and critiquing. And then finally, creating, putting elements together to form a coherent or functional whole. Recognizing elements into a new pattern or structure through generating, planning, or producing. As was indicated earlier, in terms of reflection, this is the student reflecting on the knowledge that they have learned. What we need to do as instructors is to ask the students, what did you think about, feel, and visualize while participating in the session? And I just wanted to bring Bloom into this equation because it relates to understanding, Bloom's understanding. What we know is when students learn about metacognition, gain learning strategies, and become active learners, it empowers them because they begin to understand that thinking and learning are processes that they can control. So thinking about that, another question that faculty can ask students, what did you know before? What did you want to know? And what did you learn in this session? Of course, that's part of Bloom's analyzing. What we know, again, is if students do not take the time to discover If we, do not take the time to discover what our students already know and help them relate what they're learning to the prior knowledge, then generally they can't learn or they won't learn. So again, when we're looking at the integrative approach, all of that relates to student learning. We must begin to integrate, as the word implies, this information